Welcome to Beats and Boots, the podcast where stories from music and subcultures around the world come together.
Here, we want to explore the journey of skinheads and skin girls, road boys and road girls, punks, and everyone part of our subcultures. On each episode, we will dive deep into personal stories, how our guests discovered these scenes, faced challenges, found joy, unity, and identity through music. Join us on Beats and Boots, music and subculture stories.
Welcome to Beats and Boots, music and subculture stories. Today's guest is hailing from Canada. She had been part of many bands, such as the Divetones, The Choices, and Rebel Rule. She is a musician and an advocate for women's inclusion in the scenes. Let's welcome Jenny.
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, thank you for accepting truly my invitation. I am truly excited to share your story.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the beginning. Let's think and reflect on that moment when you discovered the subculture. Where this happened? How did you got involved?
So when I first discovered the underground music scene, I was in school. Actually, I didn't have a lot of exposure to punk or to oi, simply because at that time, there wasn't really the internet. And also, a lot of people got into the subculture because they had an older sibling who was interested or another family member. And I didn't have that. So when I went to school, I remember walking down the hallway, and I think that there was already something inside of me that was looking for something bigger and better than what I already knew. And at that time, there was a lot of Rancid playing on the radio in the mid-90s, Ruby Soho and Out Come the Wolves. So I was immediately captivated by the sound of Rancid and that kind of punk in the 90s going on at the time. And, I read some of the lyric sheets, which brought me back to the original references of Jimmy Cliff and, of course, Billy Bragg. But I think my biggest moment in terms of catalytically loving punk came from seeing a picture of Becky Bondage, the singer of Vice Squad, taped inside the locker of one of my classmates. And I'd never seen anything like that before, like a woman with like a bullet belt and a guitar and blue hair. And I just, I don't know if it's possible to say that you could fall in love with at first sight with an icon, but I saw that picture and I understood then that like everything that I knew was a shadow of what was to come.
How, if you have any specific moment when you discover the reggae, the ska, how eventually that happened?
So when I was in high school, like 15, 16, we went to a lot of like punk shows, but they were like organized by kids, you know, so they were all ages and they were in community centers and there weren't like alcohol served. It was just bands who rented local sound systems, and we would all go and pay like $1 or $2 to see local bands play. And when I showed up at a couple of these gigs, I noticed that there were some people in the audience who were dressed like old men, like with suspenders and like button-down shirts and polos. And I was asking my friend, like, that's so weird. Like, why would they want to look like old fashioned at a punk gig? And she said, oh no, like those are skins. And I said, what? And I'd never heard of the term before. I mean, I guess a lot of us, when we hear the word skinhead for the first time, we wonder what that means in terms of like neo-Nazism, or is that like something that I should be afraid of? But I was really interested because I also loved the aesthetic, and I also loved what these bands were doing in terms of like the oi music. It was something that I hadn't heard before, like that raw power and aggression. So I started talking with some of the local skinheads, and I learned about like the actual roots of the subculture, which was an anti-racist message. It was about a multicultural message that started in England, and a mix of Caribbean and British influences. And the fact that there are so many chapters to the skinhead story, and the fact that there is so many different pockets and potentials in the subculture, that's what really fascinated me.
How has being part of this subculture influenced yourself, your identity, developing your own self? How has music shaped you after that first encounter, how that transformed and eventually influenced who you are today?
I think that the skinhead scene taught me a lot in terms of values. So whereas if you look at the punk scene, there was a lot of no future, just now, and like destroy. What I found in the skinhead scene is that there was a really strong emphasis on the value of loyalty, community, working hard, and being proud of what you have because you earned it, as opposed to it being given to you in life, like a real ethic around hard work. And also being proud of yourself, not because of qualities that you were born with, but because of qualities that you developed. You know, just this idea, I think, of the skinhead pride. A lot of people misconstrue it with, being racist, but it's not. It's about being proud of who you are because you chose your path and you chose to go a different way, and you chose to overcome a lot of things in your life and come out of it stronger. I see that all of that is inside the skinhead scene, and I think that being a part of this subculture taught me to be a better friend, to always show up for people, to stick together, because when you're so few in number and when you rely on each other so much to be at your gigs, to be at your, parents' place, or to truly be a friend, you have to give that back. And I think that the true definition of friendship is no more purely expressed than in our community. And I think that like the working class values, I think the skinhead scene really taught me, like in terms of working class values, that there's true value in just doing something well. It was really important to me because, like, in mainstream society, we're often taught that we should be climbing a ladder, that we should have people under us, that we should have more authority, that we should have more money. But I think that the skinhead scene taught me that there's true value and fulfillment in what we do, with our hands, with our minds, with our hearts, that as long as we are creating something in this world that is a unique thing to us and that means something to us, that our lives and our labor is worthwhile.
And you have talked about very important points about, this subculture. It is extremely important to get educated about the roots and understand how these come from. This was a multicultural movement since the beginning.
Yes.
It was a working class movement as well. That in the 70s, eventually in the 80s, other groups have taken this subculture and transformed it and use it for things that were different, right? But the reality is that this movement since the beginning was based and rooted in multiculturalism, in unity, and in solidarity. Moving through how you did get started and got involved in bands, how eventually happened?
Yeah, so when I started seeing a lot of the music being performed in my hometown in Canada, I loved watching the bands play. I loved seeing that energy on stage. I loved how there could never be the same show twice. And I just craved so much to be playing with them, you know? I mean, it's one thing to be in the audience, but it's another thing to be able to share your message and to like create something that lasts. And I was a little bit surprised because at that time there weren't actually any women on the stage either. And I started thinking like, well, why is that? Like, why do we have to stay on this side of the line? Like, why can't we also have a voice? And so, yeah, I picked up a guitar and I started, writing some songs myself. And unfortunately, like, when I went to audition for a lot of bands in my small town, I didn't actually get the part of a rhythm guitar player or a lead guitar player. And in like a few of those instances, the guys would tell me, well, yeah, it's because we want to be like a serious oi band and we don't want to have like a chick in the band. So it was really hard. Yeah, for sure. And so at that moment, I just decided to go solo because I thought that it would be better to try something alone than to not do it at all. And that's why in 2005, I released my first solo demo project.
I was going in that direction also to ask you, as a woman, in a predominantly male space, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced, right? And since the beginning, then you did struggle with that inclusion in the scene.
Well, I will say one thing, which is that I've talked to a lot of people over the last 25 years in the skinhead scene about, what was your best gig? What was your worst gig? What was the hardest thing? Every time I talk to my male friends who play in bands, their worst gigs are, I didn't get paid enough money. I had to sleep in a dirty bed. The sound system didn't work. It was just like a terrible organization and the flight was delayed, something like this. But when I talk like about my own experiences, the worst include like sexual assault, attempted rape, violence. I mean, it's a totally different world when you travel as a solo female artist. And especially at the time when I started in the early mid 2000s, there wasn't the internet as we know it today. There wasn't like this idea of responsibility, and there also weren't a lot of women voices. So if you were the first one to say like, like that guy locked me in his closet for like 3 hours, nobody believed you. You know what I mean? And that's just the price you had to pay to play.
Have you seen progress in the aspect of including women in the scene? Meaning, do you feel supported now in terms of the support to women in the scene and the safety of the woman in the scene?
I really believe that it's so much better simply by the fact that there are a lot of women who are connecting with each other. Like, there's a lot of female musicians out there who are able to find each other because of, social media or better communications. I mean, before, like in the 90s or like early 2000s, all we had were like the people who lived in our cities, or, some friends of friends, or you would travel and you would write those letters and fanzines. Like, you didn't know what somebody's face looked like. And if you said like, oh yeah, I was attacked by this guy named like Hugo, people would say, oh, I don't, but now you can point to the profile and you can call people out and make them accountable. And I think that has done a lot to keep women safer. Also, I think that there's more of a culture of, calling out rape culture, saying, that isn't right. Like, that's not okay. And I believe that there is power in numbers. So, when there are a lot of people saying the same thing and you can get those testimonials now, it gives more credibility. But of course, it's not perfect. And I do think that, for example, like if you are a female musician, a lot of times you're never given like a headlining spot on a festival. Like, you often are the opener, or you're like the after party or the pre-party. But
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Okay.
if you look at like all of the major punk festivals or oi festivals, where are the women at the top of the flyer?
Absolutely. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's important to talk about it. Have you ever had to prove yourself or challenge any stereotype as a woman in order to get involved in different communities in different countries or different places that you have visited?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that, for example, when I was touring in Latin America, the promoter said, I think that you should lose like 10 pounds because then people would be more attracted to you and they would come to your concerts. And I said, like, okay, sorry. Did you say the same thing to like Mency from Angelic Upstarts or like the guys from Cox Bar? Because like, I think they're bigger than me, And he's like, oh yeah, but like you're a lady. And like, I was like, yeah, but I'm playing music. I'm not in like a fitness competition. So I don't really see why me losing 10 pounds has something to do with ticket sales.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is the importance of this type of conversations. Like, people do not think about this, and we need to open spaces to talk about how different it is and how this needs to get better and it has to change. How important it is for people in the subculture to find each other, especially for women? And how do you think we can create spaces, and how do you think we can do a better job doing this?
Well, I think that you're a perfect example of how things change and how we can give space because, for example, if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit of our story.
Please.
We connected sort of over Instagram, sharing some links to bands, and also I was listening to a lot of the media work that you've done so far and reporting and journalism on the subculture. And I was like immediately attracted to your message and what you were saying. And like the people that you were interviewing, like Hiromi, I saw her interview. It's beautiful and wonderful that somebody's giving a platform to women who deserve representation. And the fact that you reached out to me and invited me for an interview and that we can talk about these things, it makes a world of difference because, a lot of people, they don't realize that there are issues because they never talk to women who are going through this, And I think that like when I heard a lot of what Hiromi had to say in her interview, I said, yeah, I completely understand what she's talking about. And thank you so much for saying it because now I don't feel so alone. And now I feel stronger to raise my voice too. And so I think that these idea of creating space is about lighting a candle and passing that flame. And that's exactly what your channel and what your message is. And what I would say is we need more of this. And we need more people who aren't afraid to just say, like, you know what? Yeah, that's bullshit. Like, it can be better.
Yes, and definitely that is definitely the objective of this project, is opening a space to talk about, to educate about how this really started, what is the objective, and absolutely to get better and unify us. We are many people around the world, but we are very spread out. And the reality is that we are a strong community with really good things, but there are many things also that can be better. And this type of conversations open the door to reflect on those things, right? Now, moving through the joy in the scene that is also part of it. What brings you most joy about being a musician and playing in these shows?
Oh, I think that oi music and the music that's connected to the underground scene opens the imagination. Like it really truly provides like an alternative to what we see in the mainstream world. Like it teaches us that we can all be heroes of our own story and that we're all important. And I love the riffs. I love the aesthetic of the music. I love those pockets of melody and anger. That's a mirror of who I am and a version of who I want to be. And so being on stage and being able to share these songs, or like being in front of the stage and being able to hear those songs from other musicians, is incredible.
What does the sense of brotherhood in the scene mean to you? How does it feel to share this with others? And again, how can we make this stronger and better?
I think that community and solidarity is the backbone of the Skinhead community. It's really truly about standing together and fighting the same prejudices and also supporting each other. When I see friends and bands elevate and get bigger and better stages and opportunities, I feel sincerely so happy. Like their joy is my joy. And I love to see people who are good people who are working hard get something that they truly deserve. That's amazing. I think that probably what we could do to make this stronger is understand that like happiness is contagious. So instead of being in competition with each other, instead of like putting each other down or like saying, oh, I don't want to support this person because they're too popular, because they did this. No, think about it from their perspective. Like most of these bands, like they've been working for years and
absolutely
they love what they do. And we're all here because we love the music. Nobody is here to like get rich or be better or anything. Like it's kind of ridiculous to assume that. I think the moment we let those jealousies go and we truly find happiness in the happiness of our friends, that is when community.
Yeah, good answer. Thank you for sharing that, truly. Now, in your journey as an adult, you said that you had been, since the 90s. In your global travels, have you observed differences, similarities in how subcultures manifest across the different countries? What unique challenges do you face?
Oh, like, of course, there's like a lot of language barriers when you travel to different countries, and there's also cultural barriers. I toured a lot, for example, in Malaysia or Indonesia or like Uzbekistan even, and
Wow.
in those punk gigs, like no alcohol, right? So you just have to, face it sober, and that's really cool. And it was a great opportunity for me because I love having a couple of beers, but it was great to like see kids and like people just being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have some water and just get into the mosh pit and go crazy. And I thought that was really like inspiring because it's like, oh no, you love this and you have no inhibitions and you're just like ready to jump into a pit of people completely like sober. It's just, that was cool. I think that where I've traveled to with the music, I've also seen that there's like a lot of poverty too, right? Like, for example, I live in Canada now, and we have certain basic privileges that we assume are normal, right? But when I did a lot of the touring that I've done, like for example, through South Africa or through Indonesia, again, I would stay in people's families' homes and they wouldn't necessarily have beds or like running water, and the humility of the hosts that I had taught me a lot also about how proud I am to be a part of this subculture, because they were so welcoming and so kind and so happy to bring me to their home with their families, intergenerational families, and say like, yeah, mom, oi, 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 this is Jenny Wu, let's party. And it's like, I felt like a bit weird, like, oh boy, like it's like I was in Indonesia, and the guy brought me to like the shower, but it was a kind of lake behind his house, and his mom and his aunt took a bucket and washed me. And I thought, like, this is so weird, right? But it's like, on the other hand, it's actually really kind, and I never would have lived those experiences if I didn't go on tour there,
Yeah, powerful experiences. Yeah, and that's the important and the significance of traveling and understanding the cultures. Observing and receiving and understanding the similarities, but also embracing and respecting, right? The cultures and learning from them. So what an opportunity.
Yeah, I just remember his mom was like trying to wash off my tattoos because she did not understand that they were like in my skin. And she's like, oh, it's dirty. It's so dirty.
Wow. So kind. Amazing. So let's talk about what changes or improvement you truly would like to see in the subculture moving forward.
I would love to see more and more new bands. I love our subculture, but like the heroes of our culture are like, in their golden years. Like, you can look at like Coxbar, you can look at, Sham 69 and all of these incredible foundational bands. They're not going to be here forever. So we have to enjoy them while they last, but we also have to like create that discography and that passion for bands that can bring something new to the table and can keep going for a long time. So I always love hearing what the youth is up to, and it is a youth subculture. So I think we have to like support our local bands, and I really make it a point, like every time I see like poster happening in my town right now, just go. Like it costs like $5. Just go and see bands and enjoy it, because that's what it's all about. It's all about the music. And other than that, another thing that would make it a little bit better, I think, is opening our minds to different narratives and different stories that can be told. Like, I love all of the, Skinhead legends, and like, I love all of the classic themes of songs like Beers and Friday Nights and Polishing Your Boots, and like, but we also need to like accept that there's going to be some more authentic, real songs that come in that speak to different stories. And I love, for example, The Business, Welcome to the Real World. Like, on that album, they talk about like credit card debt. They talk about, domestic violence. They talk about, funny things like Tina Turner and stuff, So it's like we need to have new songs and new stories come out. My unfortunate thought about a lot of like material that comes out in the last few years is a lot of it is copy paste of what came before. And we just need to like, take a step back and say like, what is something that's true for me right now? So I would love to hear a lot more of that.
And I agree with you. And there's some kind of resistance to it. These bands share their experiences, their struggles, their joys. And it is amazing to hear that in the lyrics and being able to identify, being a working class and work hard and being able to do music and that being your way of expressing brings knowledge and ways to identify. And I definitely agree with you, and changing and reshaping the mindset of what is the content of the music and receiving it with an open opportunity, right? Before we wrap up, can you tell us about your upcoming performances in 2020?
Yeah. I have a lot of things coming up in 2025. I'm releasing my 7th solo album called One Tribe on Run Valley Records. We're going to be doing some shows to support the album in Europe as well as in, California. And I also have a ska band, 8-piece ska band here in Canada. We're going to be doing quite a few gigs coming up around Canada in the new year, and we're actually recording our first debut record, which is going to be produced by Jay of the Slackers. So I'm really excited for that. I also have a kind of 77 punk band called The Choices that's active in Paris, and we're recording our third studio album in August, and we're going to be doing like a multi-country European tour in August and September. So it's a lot of things coming up, and also I'm expecting like a baby.
I know. You need to feel so proud.
Yeah,
that you're so active and you continue and you're doing all that you love as you balance your life as a mother. So truly,
yeah. But I will have to say that being a mom now has given me extra strength. Like I feel tired all the time, but I have more purpose. I'm really driven because I want my children to see that if you really believe in something, the harder you work at it, like the farther you can go. So
you need to feel super proud. You continue playing like you were playing last week, right?
Yeah, girl. I was full-term pregnant. We went on tour in Quebec and Ontario with my ska band, and I'll tell you, it was like very difficult to look cute on stage and to
You
skank
look
all the way.
amazing. I was showing my husband like she looks awesome. I'm so proud of her that she continued. She's happy and she's enjoying until the last minute. So truly, thank you, Jenny, so much for being here with me and joining us today. Everything that you said is so important and significant, and it has to be shared. Thank you for everything you do for subculture, truly.
I really want to say the thing to you. Thank you so much for all that you do, for helping us share these stories, and for being a catalyst of bringing new ideas and new people together. I really love your channel, and I can't wait to hear more.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. Remember to check out our Spotify playlist featuring Jenny's music recommendation. This was Naya Maji. Until the next episode of Beats and Boots, music and subculture stories. Thank you.